Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, Luzon. We bring you the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news coverage from the People's Television, IBC, Philippine News Agency, Philippine Information Agency, and Presidential Broadcast Service. I'm Princess Abiba Saripaudak. Welcome to Balitang Pambansa. Tonight's headlines. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth paid a courtesy call on President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to discuss the further strengthening of the Philippines and the U.S. relations on mutual defense. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, says that the first day of campaign period for local positions for the 2025 polls was generally peaceful. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, with the help of the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, removed illegally posted campaign materials on the first day of the campaign period for the local elections. On top of the news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. welcomed United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth earlier today in Malacanang. The meeting focused on strengthening ties, particularly in defense cooperation and the long-standing partnership between the Philippines and the U.S. PTV's Kenneth Paciente has the full report.
Strengthening ties, particularly in defense, was the focus of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s meeting with U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The President emphasized that Hegseth's visit carries an important message, symbolizes the United States' strong commitment to maintaining peace in the Indo-Pacific region.
Your visit to the region, and especially the fact that you have come to the Philippines as your first stop, is a very strong indication and sends a very strong message of the commitment of both our countries to continue to work together to maintain the peace in the Indo-Pacific region within the South China Sea. And I know that the work that we will do in the time that you have here, brief as it is, in the time that you have here in the Philippines will be extremely productive and very, very important for as we chart our way into the future, considering how complicated geopolitics has become.
He also highlighted the long-standing cooperation between the Philippines and the U.S., particularly in supporting the country's pursuit of sovereignty without resorting to violence.
You are our only treaty partner and have and continue to be the supporter for peace in this part of the world. And we have always understood the principle that the greatest force for peace in this part of the world would be the United States.
Hegseth conveyed a message from U.S. President Donald Trump, expressing readiness to continue the alliance, friendship, and cooperation between the Philippines and the U.S. He also underscored the U.S. desire to expand military-to-military cooperation, which would be mutually beneficial for both nations.
And he and I both want to express the ironclad commitment we have to the Mutual Defense Treaty and to the partnership, economically, militarily, which our staffs have worked on diligently for weeks and weeks and months. There is a very real reason why our first trip and our first visit is here to visit you in your great country.
Hegseth praised the Philippines' strong stance in asserting its sovereignty over the West Philippine Sea, while emphasizing the importance of collaboration to prevent any conflict. He also stressed the importance of deterrence to avoid conflicts in the South China Sea.
Deterrence is necessary around the world, but specifically in this region, in your country, considering the threats from the Communist Chinese, and that friends need to stand shoulder to shoulder to deter conflict, to ensure that there's free navigation. Whether you call it the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea, we recognize that your country has stand very firm in that location and in defense of your nations.
Hegseth arrived last night and was welcomed by U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Mary Kay Carlson. His visit is part of his first official trip to the Asia-Pacific region as defense chief. Aside from the Philippines, the U.S. official will also visit Japan, Hawaii, and Guam. From PTV Manila, Kenneth Pasyente, Balitang Pambansa.
Malacanang reminded local candidates in the 2025 midterm elections to follow the law, be respectful in their campaigns, and avoid conflicts to ensure peaceful elections. It also reiterated that the AFP and the PNP must remain nonpartisan and loyal to the country and Constitution. The palace stressed that law enforcement should not be influenced by politicians or emotions during the election period.
Ang PNP kasi dapat, it should remain apolitical. So, wag pang papagamit, tama po, wag magpagamit sa politiko, wag magpagamit sa damdamin. Alamin nila, tandaan nila na ang kanilang trabaho ay manatiling loyal sa bansa, loyal sa konstitusyon.
Meanwhile, the first day of the campaign period for local candidates for the 2025 midterm elections kicked off peacefully, according to the Commission on Elections or COMELEC. However, the poll body received complaints about heavy traffic caused by numerous campaign rallies, as well as the deafening beat of drums, fireworks, and vehicles blaring campaign jingles. Our PTV's Luisa Irispe tells us more.
The first day of campaign for local candidates of 2025 midterm elections has been generally peaceful. According to the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, didn't receive any report of violations or disarray related with candidates today.
Generally peaceful po ito at to a certain extent sumusunod naman.
However, there are minimal issues the poll body would like to raise, such as the traffic caused by proclamation rallies. Because of this, the COMELEC called on candidates that as much as possible not cause heavy traffic buildup among national roads, especially in cities.
Medyo nakaistorbo yung ilan sa ating pong mga traffic and therefore ang ating pong hindi naman babala pakiusap doon sa mga magkakampanya. Total, kumukuha po kayo ng mga permit mula po sa barangay, sa munisipyo, sa City Hall. Sana po naman ay siguraduhin lang natin na hindi ito makakaistorbo sa ating mga kababayan.
Even those who are using drums and campaign jingles, COMELEC advised candidates that they should be careful not to disturb voters within resting hours. And for those who aren't using biodegradable campaign materials, COMELEC reminded them that based on the rules, eco-friendly campaign materials are must.
Sapat na lang na ma-emphasize natin sa lahat na gumamit naman tayo ng biodegradable materials upang makatulong naman tayo kahit sa maliit na paraan sa ating pong kapaligiran.
Shirts, ballers, caps, and candies are allowed during the campaign. However, the COMELEC reiterated that any presence of candidates during ayuda-giving events is strictly prohibited.
Pagpasaway ang politiko, ang kandidato, bakit natin iboboto? Hindi natin iboboto sapagkat ngayon palang tinuturuan na natin ang mga kabataan na pwede palang i-violate yung mga patakaran. Okay lang na i-disregard kahit na batas ng halalan.
The COMELEC is open to receive complaints or petitions that will be filed before their office against violators. Luisa Irispe from the National TV for a new and better Philippines.
A common saying goes, the hardest person to forget is the one who still owes you money. But for some borrowers, unpaid debts have turned into a nightmare. Escalating into threats and harassment, several complaints reached the Senate. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian revealed that scamming people into taking loans has become as easy as sending us text messages. However, he said that once a borrower fails to pay on time, they are bombarded with threats and verbal abuse. Senator Gatchalian also pointed out how simple it is to set up the online lending applications, making it easier for predatory lenders to operate. In response, the Senate is intensifying its investigation into these abusive practices.
Meron ho kaming reports na pinapadalan po ng korona ng patay, pinapadalan po ng bala, para ho puwersahin na magbayad.
Although naniniwala pa rin ako na dapat ang utang kailangang bayaran, of course. Pero merong mga pamamaraan naman para maningil ang pinagkakautangan. Hindi yung dadaan natin sa parang dahas.
Meron po, sir, na
Meron?
Opo, meron pong isang department na in charge doon sa
akala ko.
nakikipag-coordinate sa PAOK po at saka NBI.
Despite former President Duterte's birthday, the Makabayan bloc opposed calls for his release from the International Criminal Court. They argued that due to the serious charges of crimes against humanity, he should remain in detention. Representatives from Kabataan Party List and Gabriela Party List criticized Duterte's administration for its violence and oppression, particularly against women and families affected by the drug war. While some of his supporters protested for his release, the Makabayan bloc dismissed these efforts as ineffective. The government continues its efforts to provide decent housing for every Filipino under the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program, or the 4PH. The palace announced that 4 5-story buildings, part of the 72 housing projects in Peoplesville in Davao City, will be ready for turnover in the coming months, while 22 more projects in the area are being fast-tracked for completion. The housing initiative is expected to benefit around 7,200 families.
Makikita ang halaga ng isang bagay sa kung gaano kakahandang maghintay at magpursige upang makamit ito. At para sa isang benepisyaryo sa Zamboanga del Norte, nagbunga rin sa wakas ang kanyang paghihintay.
Ako si Ramon Siocon, tupuyo dire sa Bethlehem. Ang akong edad karon 75 anyos. Gahulat ko, tumatagaan may og titulo sa Agrarian Reform o BBM.
42 taon niyang hinintay ang titulo ng lupang kanyang sinasakahan na sumasaklaw sa mahigit 1 ektarya ng lupa. Si Ramon ay isa sa mga benepisyaryo na naghintay ng maraming taon upang matanggap ang kanilang titulo. Noong ika-24 ng Mayo, isa siya sa mga personal na nakatanggap nito sa isang okasyon ng pamamahagi ng titulo na pinangunahan mismo ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Kasama ang Department of Agrarian Reform, mahigit 8,000 titulo at 12,000 ektarya ang naibahagi sa ating mga magsasaka sa rehiyon ng Zamboanga simula ng nanungkulan si Pangulong Marcos noong Hulyo 2022.
Salamat sa Zamboanga del Norte, sa DAR, sa DAR Secretary Conrado Estrella III, ug sa atong mahal na presidente. Daghang salamat.
And we are back. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, truck was filled with illegal campaign materials after the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, and MMDA's Oplan Baklas operations was conducted earlier today. This effort aims to remove campaign materials violating election rules, especially in public spaces. The materials will be recycled by the Eco Waste Coalition. Starting tomorrow, the poll body will send letters to candidates to remove improperly placed materials, with penalties for non-compliance. Additionally, motorcades will only be allowed on weekends and holidays to avoid traffic congestions. As the Women's Month ends, the Philippine Commission on Women, or the PCW, assured that their programs prioritize the welfare of women. PCW Director Narlene Santos-Millar discussed initiatives like the Threads of Empowerment campaign and an award system for gender-based efforts. It also focuses on supporting state universities and colleges for 2025 and ensuring proper use of their budget for women's welfare. Santos-Millar highlighted the need for women to be aware of their rights and advocate for them. Meanwhile, the country's unemployment rate could further decline to around 3.3 to 3.8% by the end of February this year, according to an economist. These and other stories in tonight's Business Wrap from the Philippine News Agency.
A look at business headlines. Malacanang supports the Department of Agriculture's decision to increase the monthly rice allocation for vulnerable sectors under the Marcos administration's 29 pesos rice program. In a statement, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Undersecretary Claire Castro says increasing rice allocation from 10 to 30 kilos will ease the burden on vulnerable groups and will allow the National Food Authority or NFA to buy more rice from farmers. Senior citizens, PWDs, solo parents, and indigents can purchase up to 30 kilos of rice at 29 pesos per kilo each month. Meanwhile, the Philippines' unemployment rate could decline further to about 3.3 to 3.8% by the end of February this year. According to Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation Chief Economist Michael Ricafort, this is driven by the improved weather conditions in early 2025 that contribute to employment in agriculture and many other industries. As of January, unemployment rate dropped to 4.3% from 4.5% in the same month last year. Meanwhile, Ricafort anticipates an increase in production and inventory building in preparation for the Holy Week and midterm elections. Ricafort says midterm elections are expected to demand additional jobs for candidates and industries catering to election-related services. In other news, Alter Energy Holding Corporation received a certificate of authority from the Department of Energy to establish a new onshore wind power project in the province of Albay. According to Alternergy, their unit, Alternergy Wind Holdings Corporation, has the exclusive authority to conduct exploration and assessment of wind resources for the Albay Wind Power Project. AWHC President Nud Hedegar said Energy Secretary Rafael Lotilla introduced the COA framework that aims to support developers to mitigate project risks and enhance overall project viability. About 6,318 hectares covered by the project area can produce at least 150 megawatts of clean energy. The project would be part of its next pipeline, potentially exceeding its 500 megawatt target by 2026. That's a wrap for this week's Business Stories. Happy weekend, everyone. From the Philippine News Agency, I'm Bench Bondok for Balitang Pambansa.
Coming up, provincial news and more when Balitang Pambansa returns.
Diskateng pangkabuhayan ba ang hanap mo? Magnegosyo na sa agrikultura gamit ang makabagong kaalaman. Mag-agri tayo. Baki workshop na tuwing Sabado ng umaga. Dito sa katuwang nyo sa paghahanap buhay, PTV. Disaster Watch, mga hakbang kontrasunog ngayong Fire Prevention Month. Regular na inspeksyonin ang mga linya ng kuryente, appliances, LPG at kalan. Mag-ingat sa paggamit ng gasera, kandila, vape at posporo. Itapon na maayos ang upos ng sigarilyo. I-unplug ang mga appliance at gadget na hindi ginagamit. I-switch off ang circuit breaker sa bahay kung magbabakasyon. Maghanda ng first aid kit at escape plan at ipaalam ito sa kasama sa bahay o opisina. Alamin ang cover, drop, roll strategy kapag may emergency. At ilista ang numero ng pinakamalapit na istasyon ng bumbero sa inyong lugar. Huwag hayaang maabo ang pangarap. Dapat laging listo.
Babae, karapatan mo, alamin mo. GadWatch, the Magna Carta of Women.
It is a comprehensive women's human rights law na naglalayon na i-eliminate yung discrimination against women. It is a local translation of the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women or UNCEDAW. Yung protection natin pagdating sa kalamidad, sa kahit na anong crisis situation. Pag-alis ng diskriminasyon pagdating sa education, scholarships and training. Pag-alis ng diskriminasyon pagdating sa employment, sa military, or, police, and even other similar services. We have this special leave benefit for women na mag-undergo ng surgery on any gynecological disorder. Yung MCW natin pave the way sa pagpasa ng mas maraming women-related laws, setting the direction for the government kung ano dapat yung maging plano, activities, and programs para sa mga kababaihan. The government is mandated to allocate at least 5% of their national budget to women-related programs, plans, and activities. So, ang PCW monitors the agencies or the government agencies' national plans on gender and development as well as their achievements on this. Yung Global Gender Gap Index natin, yung specifically minimeasure niya kasi is the gender gap on education, health and survival, economic participation and opportunity, tsaka political empowerment. We are in the 25th place in 2024 Global Gender Gap Index. Maintaining and improving gender parity requires continuous policy reforms, even stronger representation of women in leadership or in political positions, and of course, targeted efforts to close yung remaining gaps.
Babae, karapatan mo, alamin mo. GadWatch.
And we are back. The Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, provided financial assistance to distressed overseas Filipino workers to help them get back on their feet. Sophia Turnos of the Philippine Information Agency, Sergeant, has more.
The Department of Migrant Workers in Region 12 recently distributed 580,000 in financial assistance through its Balik Pinay Balik Hanap Buhay program designed to provide distressed OFWs with the resources they need to rebuild their lives in the Philippines. This initiative was part of a nationwide mass awarding held in celebration of the 2025 National Women's Month. According to DMW 12 OIC Regional Director Samsudin Lintongan, the program provides financial assistance to eligible OFWs, allowing them to start small businesses of their choice.
Sa amin po, no, sa DMW, sinasuggest po namin na mas maganda ilano po sa makabulong bagay like manimulaho, manimulang pagninegosyo. Kasi sa amin po, no, sa DMW, as much as possible, gusto namin matulungan yung mga kababayan nating OFW na hindi na bumalik sa ibang bansa, no?
Each of the beneficiaries in Soxerjan received 10,000 pesos intended to serve as a seed capital for their entrepreneurial ventures.
Malaki pong tulong na binigay nila sa amin, sa mga OFW na hindi nakapagtapos ng mga kontrata. Ito na po yung hinihintay namin na ibigay na sa amin. Maraming salamat po, DMW, binigyan mo kami ng opportunity na kahit sa ganitong halaga na po, pag-isa kami sa aming negosyo.
DMW reported a nationwide distribution of 10 million pesos to 1,000 OFWs through the BPBH program, with Soxerjan having the most beneficiaries, comprising of 185. The DMW in Region 12 has pledged to continue supporting and assisting OFWs who have returned, urging them to remain in their respective localities. From the Philippine Information Agency, Soxerjan, Sophia Zapata-Turnos, Balitang Pambansa.
Meanwhile, media organizations are urging those who belong to the so-called Gen Z to do their part in combating disinformation in the country. Shane Acobo of the Philippine Information Agency Region 10 has the full details.
With the 2025 midterm elections nearing, media organizations are urging the youth belonging to the so-called Generation Z to take a proactive role in combating disinformation. During the Scholastic Outreach Program on Media and Information Literacy in Cagayan de Oro City, Probe Managing Director Jen Aquino stressed the importance of youth in shaping the election conversation. Aquino emphasized that while Gen Z may not yet be voters, they have the power to influence the electoral process.
Kung hindi man kayo maging fact-checker, maging truth defender kayo.
Meanwhile, Asia Democratic Chronicle Editor-in-Chief Tess Bacalla discussed the role of social media in elections, especially its impact on voters.
Kahit hindi kayo mag-aabogasya, bantayan nyo yung mga ordinansang pinapasa sa Cagayan de Oro. Kahit estudyante kayo, because sooner or later, one way or another, you will be affected.
While the challenges posed by social media in spreading disinformation are significant, both Aquino and Bacalla believe the youth hold the key to positive change by actively participating in conversations around truth and fact-checking. From the Philippine Information Agency Region 10, Shayna Cobo for Balitang Pambansa.
A calorie labeling ordinance has been passed by the local government of Los Baños, Laguna. Ana Mole of PIA Calabarzon tells us more.
Bien Dange, a resident of Los Baños, became health conscious after being diagnosed with diabetes. For him, it is important to know the right calories and ingredients of the food he orders from food establishments.
Bilang mayroon din po akong sakit like diabetes, ganon, and fatty liver. Since kailangan kong mas maging conscious sa kinakain ko, yun, parang super important nung magkaroon ng calorie count sa mga foods.
Consumers like Bien is just one of the many customers who seeks to benefit from the recently enacted calorie labeling ordinance of the LGU. It will require food establishments with more than 15 branches in Los Baños to display calorie information on their menus to encourage mindful eating and combat the cases of diseases. Once implemented, penalties for non-compliance range from fines of 1,000 to 1,500 pesos and may lead to revocation of business permits.
We encourage transparency from establishments. Yun naman po yung pinakamahalaga. Yung alam mo kung ano yung ini-intake mo, and then from there, you do better choices when it comes to your health. And then in 3 or 5 or 10 years, you will think yourself that you make those good decisions for your health.
Health is wealth. That is why having the right knowledge about nutrition is crucial to help prevent various diseases. From PIA Calabarzon, Ana Mole, Balitang Pambansa.
Based on our weather update on Pagkasa's weather forecast, easterlies affects the country. And because of the northeasterly wind flow, cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms will be experienced in Bicol region, eastern Visayas, and Caraga. Batanes and Babuyan Islands may experience cloudy skies with rains, while partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms will affect Metro Manila and the rest of the country due to easterlies. And it's the last Friday of Ramadan. And that concludes our rundown of the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news and information from all across the nation. This is your trusted news source, always ready to inform and serve the Filipino people. Catch Balitang Pambansa again next week at 7 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., and 9:30 p.m. for more updates and developments. Advance Eid Mubarak from Radyo Pilipinas. I'm Princess Habiba Saripaudak, and this is your Balitang Pambansa.